Let's make sure this is focused on my visage. Hey guys, what's going on? Coach Lane here, and I want to say thank you so much for your response to my post yesterday about hyperextended elbows. And today, as requested, I wanted to put together a quick video explaining some of the ways that you can teach yourself or your athletes on how to protect themselves from injury. One of the first things that we have to address, when you have a hyperextended elbow, there is nothing underneath your elbow supporting your weight. Now, one of the common misconceptions that athletes have to realize is that you are not holding your weight in your arms. You are stacking your joints to allow your weight to transfer through your arms and then disperse into the ground beneath you. You don't actually want to be holding weight in any of your joints. You want to properly align them and stack them. It's a concept that I borrowed from yoga. You want to stack your joints so that when you are inverted, your weight is traveling through your arms and into the ground. So that way, it's not putting excessive strain on any single joint. Those of you that have wrist issues, that have elbow issues, even those of you that have shoulder issues, that's usually an indication that your alignment is off. So one of the very first things that I usually help an athlete change is their hand placement. We're usually taught to do this. And it's different strokes for different folks, but personally, I think that this hand placement puts a lot of unnecessary and a lot of painful strain on the wrist. In fact, there are 27 bones in the wrist. And those bones, while they are held together with different ligaments and tendons and et cetera, they are independent of one another. So it's a lot of strain for our tiny little wrists to hold up our weight all by themselves. So instead of doing this, what I usually have my athletes do is what's called the Hershey Kiss. Okay, and we call it that because when you put your thumbs together, it makes a little Hershey's Kiss. Okay, now this hand placement is great because if you look at my right hand over here, can you see my shoulder? No, you cannot. And that is because my joints are properly stacked. Shoulder, elbow, wrist. And what this does is that puts that weight that's coming from the shoulder, coming from your torso, into the heel of your hand. So for one, the heel of your hand is much better at acting as a shock absorber, right? Absorbing the impact and the weight that comes from your body through your arms into your hand. Instead of putting that weight into your wrist, you're able to put it into the heel of your hand, right? Which allows you to disperse that energy a lot better. And two, it helps you to block your skills a lot better. A lot of my athletes will be familiar with the shrug. So it helps you to shrug or block your skills and push through the ground or against the ground, creating resistance and allowing you to use your core to lift back up. Now, let's get into the elbow because that's the whole point of this video in the first place. When we put our arms out in front of us, most of us as human beings are used to seeing our elbows or feeling our elbows on the outside, or maybe some of you have never even noticed that that's where they're placed. But when your elbows are on the outside, it makes it a lot easier for you to bend your arms, right? That's why a basic push-up, we bend out. The problem with this is that the brain says, you know what? When I need to bail out, I'm gonna bend this. So how do we correct this? It's really simple, but it feels crazy unnatural and uncomfortable. And there's a reason for that, and that's because the body is not used to doing it. If it feels wrong, it's probably right. That's an ancient old adage in cheer, and it definitely applies here or in the realm of tumbling. So one of the ways that we can correct that, and again, borrowing this from handstand technique from yoga, is instead of keeping our elbows on the side here, what we want to do is go ahead and roll them underneath, right? Which you're going to feel in your shoulder, and you're going to feel in your elbow, and you're definitely going to feel in your wrist. It does not feel natural, but it is correct, because what we're doing now is we're allowing the muscles around the elbow to do more of the work. If you're hyperextended, there is one very important thing that you have to realize, and that is no one else can tell you what is locked out except you. It's your body, you know how it feels, but make sure that you are the one that's determining, okay, if I'm hyperextended, my elbow comes out to here, and that's me locked out, then I need to go ahead and bend it a little bit and not lock it out until it looks straight. Because when it looks straight, right, because you have that hyperextension in your joint, when it looks straight, that is it indeed being locked out in terms of joint stacking. And that's what we're trying to achieve here. So, two things that you're gonna try. Number one, fixing your hand placement. And number two, rolling those elbows underneath or behind your arms as opposed to on the side, and keeping your hand placement as you roll them. The more you practice it, the more comfortable it will feel, but you have to do it a lot, and you have to focus on changing it, because this is gonna be your default right here. This will be your default, elbows out, hands straight up. And the moment that you stop focusing, my athletes have heard this a lot lately, the moment you stop focusing on making those changes, your body's gonna jump right back to default, and you're gonna feel the effects of improper placement once again. So real quick, let me show you how you can fix your hand placement and your elbow alignment on the floor safely. All right guys, so this is how you're gonna do it. You're gonna start by getting into an assisted position, which is basically just push up on your knees. It's not girl push-ups. They are called assisted push-ups. Now, in your assisted push-up position, with your feet on the floor, what you're gonna do is you're gonna start with your hands directly underneath your shoulders, okay? And this is a great illustration because a lot of you are used to doing this, or even worse, this when you do your push-ups. So this is already gonna feel unnatural to you. Now, I'm a huge fan of military push-ups where your elbows go straight back, just like that. Definitely help build up your triceps and your shoulder muscles. But for this illustration, you're just gonna have your hands directly underneath your shoulders. You're gonna do step one, which was what? Exactly, turning those hands in, getting the heel of your hand underneath your elbow. Now, if your elbow is hyperextended, it's gonna come out to about here and then dart back in, okay? The real issue with that is that when your elbow is out here past your wrist, there's nothing underneath that's supporting your body weight. So what we gotta do is not have you lock out. I repeat, not have you lock out. And instead of being here, right, with our elbows pointing out to the side, what we wanna do is actually roll them underneath. So here in your assisted position, you can go ahead and roll your elbows and your triceps behind you so that now your elbows are pointing backward instead of out to the side. Hopefully that makes sense. Get in this position, right, and try it several times. You can also go ahead and raise the hips up and just try, feeling like you're inverted, but not actually jumping into a handstand right away. This is a great way for you to introduce your body to new positions that feel foreign, but really just take a little bit of time to get used to so that it feels comfortable. With poor technique, you can get seriously injured. So please, please, please make sure that you are always practicing proper technique, that you are always paying attention and focusing. And if you have any questions, you holler at me. I'll catch you on the flip, tumblers. Peace! That was stupid. And man, now I forgot the other word. This is hard. Y'all don't know, this is really hard, just talking to a camera by yourself. Oh, that's the camera. So let's pop down here to the, on the floor. Just, right. See, this is what happens when you're talking to a camera unscripted. For more workouts, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram.